Hey, greetings, everyone. Greetings. We are here and we are back. You know me. I'm not technically challenged, but I am having challenges with tech. How about that? Yeah. So we are here. We are here. We are here. Right. I want to press on this week, actually, family. I know I haven't seen you, and I hope you really enjoyed the show last time we were here with Sandra from the growing experience and the actual earthing experience that we had conversation. I hope you got some tips, yeah, about grow with love, and I really want you to really get something from that, the juice from that. So we talked about soil. If you didn't get that one, it's the last show that we had, and it was all about soil and the soil sisters. And I'm actually this week, actually, on Sunday, I will be going down there to the soil sisters for their women on the land. Yeah, so I'm quite excited about that. Yeah, so I will be there in Enfield this weekend. Okay, so I also am not going to do any news tonight because we've got a really special show and a really special guest tonight. I'm really excited for them. Yeah, I am, because I came in talking about this conversation specifically, and now we're dealing with the impact. Yeah, we're dealing with the impact of this whole pandemic on our community. Yeah, and so tonight we will have our family tonight who will discuss this. And I don't want to give too much away at this stage, but it's very, very exciting. And there is a film showing very soon, 1st of May. So stay to the end. I've also got a little news bulletin for you. Very excited mum face. Yeah, I am holding my composure, but I'm very excited. Very, very excited. I'm going to share my screen. All being well, it'll be shared this evening without any trouble and strife. But I wanted to share this with you because, hey, I share about my children all the time. I'm a doula, so I'm always sharing about my children. But this is specific. My son was 10 years old when he started this book, and he traveled to Morocco. And last year, his grandfather passed away, and he dedicated this book to his grandfather, and it's finally ready. He has done all the illustrations, yeah, because that's kind of like his area as well, and it's a lovely little journey that he's been on, and I wanted to share it with you. So his book is released on the 16th. That's this Sunday, and I'm going to share this page with you right now, if you can see it. Let me know if you can't see it, but it should come through soon. And if it doesn't, don't worry, I will put up some of the details. There you are. So this is my son's book. It is released on the 16th. Very, very exciting news. I am an excited parent. Yeah. It's been long and arduous for him, and he's a bit of a perfectionist. So he's waited some time, and his drawings have even changed so much from them. But we wanted to put this out to make sure that, he makes his stamp in the world right from now. Anybody who knows I'm home educating, so this is all part of the work that myself and his father do. Yeah, all right. So it is available, as you can see. It's on the 16th. On the 16th it will be released, and he will do a book launch, a soft book launch at Ultra Education on the 30th of April. So very, very excited. I cannot tell you how excited I am. Okay, that's enough. Yeah. I'll flash up a couple of things just so that you know, because actually he does have an Instagram now. I know. The baby has an Instagram. Yeah. It will be managed by his father. So, don't question me about it. If you want the book, if there's any questions or queries, contact do it on that Instagram. Yeah, so that will be fine for you. Yeah, so I'll just pop this up now, and then we'll carry on with the show. But I wanted to, so this is it here, just a couple of things. Yep, that's the release date. Yeah, Diary of a Young Black King, Real Life Superhero. So it's a journey for him, and looking at real life superheroes, past and present. Yeah. And this is this little Insta, yeah. And I shouldn't call it his little Insta, because it's, I don't want to make light of it. Actually, it's really, really exciting, and and he's really calm. He's like, yeah, mum, yeah, it's cool. I'm good. I'm like, oh my God, it's exciting for you. And he's like, cool, Mum. I'm cool. So I'm trying to be cool. Yeah. I'm taking a leaf out of my son's book. So that's it right there. Right. So very excited, Mum, proud Mum. Now, we did have a little challenge playing this today. So I'm not going to play this right now, but I do want to discuss this evening. And if anybody has been, you've been following it, anybody who's come in has clearly been following the conversation for some time around this and has been following these shows. So you know that there's going to be an impact. We've talked about, the use of bees and, what respiratory conditions will probably take place, about 3 to 5 years time. Yeah, we've talked about the impact on the emotions and the emotional well-being of our community and how it's impacted, and we've had lots of conversations around that. And we're all always so about in spite of that. Yeah, and we also these conversations are also for, look, if we go into another situation like this, yeah, and it's not really over, as right? But if we go into this kind of a lockdown vibration, then it really does mean that we need to be more prepared. So I'd like to think that these shows that we do will help you to prepare in case, yeah, or the possibility of, yeah, so that you've got resources. There's people out there, we're connecting with people, and make sure that you are connecting with people, so that our lives are still full regardless of the constraints. Yeah. So without further ado, I'd like to first start with this sister, actually, because this sister reached out to me, and I was, really honored, actually. And to be fair, if there's people out here who've got really great, gifts and really great things that they want to share, contact me. We'll talk about it at the end of the show. Yeah. So you can Instagram me or you can email me, urbangoddessevolution@gmail.com. All right. But I would really like to share about the sister and her work. And when I was reading her bio, I was like, wow, just wow. So our sister is called Kandake Makonen. Yeah, Makonen. Yes. Holistic consultant, cultural, spiritual, and community activist, edifier. Medicinal herbalist, master NLP practitioner, healer, Kemetic Dogon initiate, and teacher. With over 30 years of community working, starting with the Rastafarian community in Jamaica, Kandake gained an in-depth knowledge and first-hand skills in communities such as editor of The Edifier, a global magazine giving a platform to the concerns of the Rastafarian community, and secretary to the Jamaica Reparations Committee. She was also involved in music, food growing, and herbal medicine. Returning to the UK in 2004 with the wealth of knowledge gained, she attained the University of Westminster London She attended the University of Westminster London, graduating in 2008 with a BSc honours in medicinal herbalism. By this stage, she had become a wife and mother of 2 children. Over the years, Kandake's work as a leader, activist, and healer has increased her skill base, and she has become a familiar figure within the community in her varied roles. As a holistic consultant with 14 years of experience, she has worked in private health care alongside GPs and specialists, and is a speaker on holistic health, herbal medicine, African health, well-being, and spirituality under her company, Instrumental Health. Some of Kandake's other community activities holds regular herbal medicine making workshops and herbal walks, author of articles on holistic health, spirituality, and traditional culture, awardee of the Unsung Women's Award from the Mayor of Haringey's office for work done in her community, author of Natural Ways to Deal with COVID, released during the pandemic, and is certainly writing the second book. Co-hosted the holistic health show called The More Knowledge Show for 5 years on Conscious Radio, plus has appeared on numerous other radio and TV stations nationally and internationally. Worked with her husband for 7 years running African and Caribbean drumming and dance classes, which brought about the Harambee drummers and which are all female drumming group. Storyteller, working in schools and various institutions. Committee member for Kwanzaa celebrations for the past 10 years. Currently heads the London School of Kemetic Philosophy and Spirituality, Dogon tradition. As Kandake's main area of focus is around traditional culture, spirituality, health, well-being, and community building, in April 2020, at the start of this pandemic, in answer to the outcry from a scared and confused community, she put on a series of 4 free online webinars inviting professionals in the area of physical health, mental health, business, and spirituality, entitled Holistic Approaches to Dealing with. It was shortly after these webinars that a conversation between Kandake Desmighty of Unfiltered Productions led to the birth of the ICU documentary, adding to her catalogue of a long life role of serving her community. Wow, what a woman. Now, our brother tonight, now, not all of them could be here tonight, but our brother tonight, Des, can be here this evening. So I just want to, just a little brief one for you. But Des Mighty has a rich and professional history consisting of corporate sales, high-end editorial and celebrity photography and property development. Whilst each sector is quite different, Des has excelled at all, and as a consequence forms the melting pot of his skill set today. Yeah, so that's really important, that you get a sense of the background of the people here. Now, the brother that couldn't come this evening, I'll still read out his bio, because I think it's really, really important for you to get a sense of, okay, who are these people? Why did they do this? What compelled them? So we're going to find out all of that tonight, okay? So, and we have tonight as well, even though he's not here, he can't be here, he's here in spirit, and I'm sure he'll watch this back, Samuel Awosoga. Samuel is an award-winning actor, writer, and director, co-creator and producer of Unfiltered Productions. Samuel studied drama with Anna Schwer, MBE, and went on to become the drama facilitator at St. Mary's Youth Club in Islington. Moam films boast Samuel's contributions on music, videos, short films, and community projects. Samuel is passionate about teaching young film students the basics in filmmaking, script development, and production in and around London. Samuel is dedicated to his role as a youth worker for Urban Influence, facilitating workshops on drug use, sexual health, and gangology for young people, referral units in Waltham Forest, London. Samuel is an award-winning actor whose works include, now this is quite impressive, I have to say, Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel Studios, Powder Room, Vertigo Films, Red Cup, Lucasfilms, the Han Solo movie, Visa Women's World Cup campaign 2019. Samuel's love of the stage has taken him to New York, where he appeared in an off-Broadway production, The Alexis Dynasty Chronicles, Teacup Productions, in the UK, Clybourne Park. So that's who we have with us this evening. I mean, it is very, very exciting to have such a vast array of beautiful human beings. And you know, our proverb for this evening, and you know I love a proverb, yeah? And so our proverb for this evening is, you know, if you want to work slow, work alone. And if you want to work fast, you know, if you want to work fast, you know, you can work alone. And if you want to, you know, if you want to proceed, go forward, be fruitful, be phenomenal, do it together, yeah? So I'm just putting my spin on it, because I feel like, you know, all of them have such different skill sets, and yet they combined and came together inside of this. So I'm very, very excited for them to come on. So I will bring them on right now. And please come through, Kandake and Des. Welcome, 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 welcome. I hope you didn't mind how long the introduction was. I just hope you don't mind. I wanted to get it all out. How are you? Thank you so much for reaching out this evening. We've already got people already ready for you this evening. Yeah. So big up all the Buddha Bing 07. Yeah. So we've got people in the house this evening. So just keeping on, share it with our community as well. Yeah. So I want to start this evening with, the why. Yeah. A lot of us know that this circumstance, it just came out of nowhere. And actually, those who know that it actually took place on my eldest son's 20th Earth Day, 23rd, of March, the lockdown. Yeah. So that was quite a moment. It was a real turning point for our family, not just for him, but the whole dynamic, obviously. But it changed everything for him. And he was at university at the time, so it took a lot. Yeah. And when I look at what you're doing here, I want to get a sense of why. I want to give a little bit of a description as well about this, because the I See You documentary is a provocative and positive movement towards the recovery from systematic racism and systemic discrimination. And inside of this, we educate via the power of cutting edge documentary storytelling and interview style programming, is what you say. Yeah. And so, you have some very powerful people, lots of, Stephen Sully has actually been on here. He was here about last month. Yeah. A couple of months ago now. So, you have Dean Okai, Robin Walker, Charmaine and Mark Simpson of Black History Studies, Stephen Sarley, Lee Jasper, Gwenton Slowly, and Dame Dubry. And I wanted to get a sense of what compelled you. And so anyone can start. Kandake, ladies first. Go for it.
Okay, so first of all, let me acknowledge the Most High and acknowledge our ancestors, those whose shoulders on which we stand. Let me thank you, Sister Mut, for having us on this show. And I want to acknowledge the listeners out there, those who are tuning in today. So give that. And congratulations on your son, because as a mother too, that's a wonderful moment. So good on you, sis.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay, back to the documentary. So why did we do this? For me, it was the natural next stage, the next evolution. I work very much with spirit and I work within the community. And as a result of what was happening in and around that time, the next stage after, doing these series of webinars that were being put on. And at the time, being out there, assisting in the community, seeing what's happening with people who did have COVID, using herbal medicine and that whole thing, but also seeing the confusion, the way that, everything was just playing out. It was just really playing out, having this conversation with Des, and he'll tell you a bit more, about himself. And, we'd met a couple of years before he was putting on a health presentation. I was one of the persons on there. And I know he had a strong interest in health. And out of that conversation, his film side kicked in and, he said, look, let's do a documentary, let's do this. So it was like minds seeing what was going on in our community and wanting to do something about it. That's what I would say there.
Excellent. And what about you, Des? What about, you're coming from a production background, right? So you wanted to kind of put it all together. Tell us about that.
Well, the whole idea of it, sorry about that, the whole idea of it was based around, we got really angry with the way that everything was being shown around Black people. I think everybody saw what happened with George Floyd and the way it was portrayed. The negative elements of it, going into the past of what he's done before, doesn't sort of change the fact that this man was killed publicly on TV. And then the fact that around this pandemic, there was so much negative information around Black people. So in terms of, we make up 2% of the UK. So if not one of us went through the needle, it wouldn't affect herd immunity at all. But yet, every day we were bombarded with information about we're not taking it, where there was newspaper articles at one point saying that if this thing continues, it will be because of Indian and Black communities that make up less than 5 or 6% of the UK, but they wanted to shift the blame heavily in our direction. And I remember we just kind of had a conversation. We were all quite angry about it, wanted to do something. So during the lockdown, we decided to make a documentary. We didn't have any idea of how we were going to make it. We didn't plan it. It was just, let's make a documentary. So we just woke up one day and decided to do it. We had a great location just off Oxford Street. One of the contributors, Dr. Roberta Babb, who's a clinical psychologist, she gave us her premises to use throughout the whole documentary, and they were fantastic premises. And I've just got to give a big shout out to her, because without her, we wouldn't have been able to do this. And it just evolved into what it is. We started off with a very strong focus on health, but quite quickly started to realize that the Black community was being affected. There's lots of people that were depressed, suicidal situation, mental health issues, people who were just stooped in fear from what was happening with this whole situation. And we just felt that it was really, really unfair. And the documentary is what we used the vehicle that we decided to use to try and understand how people were feeling and what we need to do.
Yeah, I get it. I think that's really, really, it makes a lot of sense, because at the time there was a lot of panic. There was a real sense of panic, people not knowing which way. Even now, you get a sense of the kind of headless chicken. You get that, even with certain regulations being, put to the side. You listen to some of the more mainstream media, and you can still hear the panic and the upset by not keeping certain things going the way they're going. Yeah. I saw with this, I saw a lot of programming. I saw a lot of, I saw a lot of fear, because in my field as a doula, there was a lot of fear. People weren't getting to the hospitals in the same way. Women were free birthing, having their babies, without a midwife present in rural areas. Yeah, that was going on those kind of sides because of it. So women were scared to have their babies in hospitals at the time, if they were due to have that kind of experience. And I suppose more people had their babies at home. Yeah, that was a big thing, to be fair. But it created a programming where people, it's a conditioning. Yeah, there's been like a conditioning that's taken place now where, it's like having a scar. It's like, you hurt yourself and you get a scar and you see it. And so we're constantly daily reminded, even if they're not, they're not putting all the same data up, because it's getting overshadowed by a new agenda. Yeah. The war. Yeah. So yeah, we could say that here. So, and but and they know my views about that, as far as I'm concerned, Russia did, Russia has never gone in and tried to invade Africa. So far as I'm concerned, that's where I stand on that one. And okay, just saying. But the conditioning is still there in place. I took my children out of school during that time. I was always a parent. I was a very involved parent anyway, always there. But then I took my children out of school and kept them off, in terms of deregistered them and kept them, and they're homeschooled. And hence the book has been born, right? In that time. And so I've seen the benefits. I've seen, everyone went through different places, especially the elders, because the elders, they took it hard. They took it hard in our community because it was a situational revealer.
Yeah.
It was very much like, who believes what, who thinks this. You found out who was into health. You found out who was not. You found out who believed in X. You found out who didn't believe in Y. It was powerful on that level because it really determines the mindset. Yeah. But I feel as a younger woman, I can, and healthy, if I could say that right now, if that's, I could take that for granted. But the elders, we lost people. People lost people. Yeah. I didn't personally lose anyone like closely related to me. Yeah. But people passed that I heard of, and people knew of people. And you know how our community's tight. Yeah. Our community's quite small. Yeah. So when someone passes away under those conditions, it hits us. So I recognize the conditioning of that time. And I wondered what when you talk about the fear at that time, maybe expand as to, what was that like? Because I come from maybe my circle's like this, or my community is a bit like this. The community that you were in connection with, what was that really like? Like, give us an idea of how much what that experience was like.
Kandake, I'll let you
definitely, because it was really born out. That's why I told you, for me it was spiritual and the community. I'm a medical herbalist, so to be honest, when I heard all of this stuff going on, I was like, oh, there they go again. And I just kept doing what I do because I already knew what I was quite fine. And but people were calling me from the community and they were like, what do we do? And, I was actually working on the book, and I actually looked up and I looked around and I realized, hold on a minute, they've got these people scared. And, there's a network across the UK of herbalists who we're linked into. So, everyone had their conversation and we were all good. And then there was actually going to be a meeting at the PACM, Elder Pepper Guy down at the Ma'at Centre. Right. So I was due to be on that. And the Friday it was supposed to be on, that's when they said they couldn't have any meetings. So there was all this lockdown. So we're like, okay, what am I going to do? And it was a community that was called, and they said, look, we still need to do something. How are we going to get something done? So that's why I said for me, it was a community that really, I heard, the call. That's why for me, I always said it was a community, because it was the call from the community. And then, I'm a bushwoman, I'll tell you straight. I belong to the earth. So when the idea about doing these webinars came on, I was like, I can't do that. I don't know what to do. And it was a brother.
And my electromagnetic field and all that,
I far from those things. And the earnest and what they were saying, I was like, if it wasn't for the community, I would have never gone online, trust me. But I heard it. And, my brother, bless him, said to me, he would help to guide me, and he's into media, and that's his whole business. He goes, look, I'll be there to hold your hands. I'll set up, and it was, a live thing like this, and we would do these webinars. And so this is when all the health, and for me, what I saw was that, because there were different webinars and different people from different areas, because it's holistic that we do. And what I saw was that the community was willing to come in and assist however they could. So I felt the community come together for the community. And that was just so powerful. So there was this fear, there was this confusion, and there were those who could do things, and they came in and, you know, started to put this together. And then as we came out of that, there was this really huge spiritual experience that came. And the last webinar we put on was with the Dogon priest and Dalian Adafo. And
Dalian.
Yes. Yeah. And then there was this serious spiritual experience that came out. And then is when this conversation went with Des. So what happened was this spiritual element moved from there into this space here when I've never really told them this bit, but this is what happened. So it moved through. So that's why I always credit the community and that spiritual side, because that's what it happens. We're all conduits. If we allow ourselves, we become conduits and we become a part of the whole. And when we work together, that's when we get things done. So that was what was happening for me at the time. And I was going out giving makers. I made herbs. I've had a COVID mix, is it a Michelle mix, which I was giving people because a lot of people didn't want to take, you know. So I was active. I've been active, and I'm still active. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And anti Maxine. One of those. So what about you yourself, Des? What was the experience like for you? Because Kandake, you tell us a little bit about the journey for you and how it moved you, but tell us about what, you know, compelled you in that way and how it was for the community that you were coming from.
I felt like people of color we really were in a bind. You know, on one hand, you had this situation where the media was attacking us every single day. And then on the other hand, you had the Black Lives Matters movement, this toppling of all the statues, and then you had this death. So we were constantly in the media, and it wasn't a positive it wasn't a positive like portrayal. It was always steeped in levels of controversy. So, you know, toppling of the statues and how socialist Black Lives Matter were, and how we're not doing this, and how we're the least whatever.
Right. Yeah, so, we're not getting this. We're the ones susceptible now. We're the ones who won't get it. We were just a rhetoric, constant.
It was almost every day.
Yeah, and, for real.
And during our research, it became apparent to us in terms of, you know, the number of deaths in the community and how we were seen as the most vulnerable. And but then when you actually looked at the figures properly, it was saying something completely different. Yes, there was a high level of Black people that had problems, but the majority of the people that were dying were not us.
Right.
You know, so if you can make figures look however you want them to.
Yeah. If you massage them well enough.
Absolutely. So you want to shape a narrative in a particular direction, then you manipulate the figures. And if you're the ones that are responsible for the figures in the first place, and everybody's believing all of this propaganda. And I think what it did to me was like you're watching the news, and then you go outside and you'd see how people were reacting. You know, people were terrified. People were in fear, especially like you said, the older population. There's people that all now are not coming out of their house.
Absolutely.
They did.
Some people have seen their family members for 2 years already, and have no, unless they have had the vaccine, they're not seeing them.
Absolutely.
Some parents, elders are saying, you know, it's like you've lost family over this.
Yeah. And it was a continuous bombardment. And at the same time, you've got this picture of all the racial incidents that were starting to happen. Other things were starting to come out, like what happened in France or the deaths in Brazil, or, you know, it was like suddenly for the first time, the whole world was waking up to what Black people were seeing, that what we're dealing with every single day, and they're in a state of shock. You're kind of asking yourself, well, hold on a second, why are you in a state of shock? This is being perpetrated by you guys, man. This is not something people have been telling you for years, what the impact on the Black community is on policing. I mean, in the UK, we've had incidents for years and years and years. And then when you look at the George Floyd incident, you look at it and you say to yourself, well, okay, George Floyd, public execution of a Black man. But a few months later, you'd see a public execution of a Black woman. And then we'd all riot and we'd all walk on the street. Some people would smash a few things up. And then it all goes back to normal. And then a couple of months later, the same thing again. And it's like, how long do we continue to stay in that circle? Just going round and round and round. And every time, you know, reparations, the argument comes up again. Everything comes back full circle and then it stops and then it comes up again. So for instance, I watched something today about a young Black guy that was struggling with a policeman. He was held down and the policeman shot him in his head. Right? This is on camera as well. And then you'll have, what I love to see is all the different, everyone will see something, but everyone will have a different portrayal of what actually they've seen. So you'll have people saying he shouldn't have resisted arrest. It's like, does resisting arrest mean that you need to be executed? Some people don't actually think about their own narrative. You know, if somebody resists arrest, it doesn't mean that they have to be killed. And it's like, we are just going round and round in a circle. My problem is we need to start dealing with the elephant in the room, which is us, really, in terms of the way that we're not connected, the way that we're not getting together as a community and saying, no, this has to stop. You know, we're so divided still, even though we try to say we have a community, we're still very, very much divided. You know, when something's said about us that is really, really negative, there isn't, I say there's people who might talk about it, but they're not representing the Black community. There's people who they might bring on to say, oh, well, they're not happy about such and such and such. But when you look at the history of some of these people, they have no real representation. They're not part of the Black community. And that's quite damning in a way, because why not just go right into the heart of the community and bring out the people that are the activists that are trying to do something? No, you'll go to the people that have been out there before, never done anything, and they're the spokespeople for the community. That needs to change. We need to have spokespeople that represent us, not represent them. And, you know, so the fear, the worry, the challenges, all of that just made it, you know, we tried to do something about it in terms of this documentary. It was challenging for us because we didn't have any funding, we didn't have anything at all. It's like you wake up in the morning and decide, right, let's make a documentary. And then you realize how much it's going to cost and how much time it's going to take to actually make that happen. But yeah, it was a very unsettling period. I mean, you said you pulled your boys out of school. There's someone in the documentary very early on who said exactly the same thing. You know, how many people of color were terrified with this construct that we all live in, not knowing how do you prepare for this bombardment every single day?
Well, that's exactly why I pulled them out. It wasn't because of the flu.
Right.
No,
that's the thing. It's like you're impacted in two ways. You're impacted in a way where, you know,
it's all psychologically. There's psychological and there's the physiological.
Yeah, and you're sending your children to school to be indoctrinated into a system that is not
exactly.
So it's always going to be challenging. And then now we've come to this. We're at a stage now where not just people of color, the whole world is terrified. What's the next thing? People have been brainwashed to a degree where, you know, you watch TV, you're being hypnotized anyway. But this level of hypnosis has just gone through the roof. People are now divided to the point of, if you have taken it, that's great. If you haven't, that's not great. And I've got friends in Canada who, for the last 2 years, have not been able to go to the gym, go to a restaurant. They can't travel on a train. They can't. It's just so divisive. And again, it always comes back to divide and conquer. The people at the top, who they call elites, I would prefer to use the term parasites. They are the ones who are creating all of these problems, right? And we, the people, instead of looking at them and thinking, well, while they're running around and they're able to do everything that they want to do, they want to shut us down, right? It's time we looked at them and said, this is wrong. Because collectively, if we wake up and say, we're not going to obey the foolishness that they're putting in front of us, they've got a problem. If we decide as a community, the 2 million of us that are in the UK, that a bank is not representing us, and we all just say, no, we're not using that bank. We all pull our money out. Suddenly that bank's going to have a different conversation with us. Collectively, we all start to get together and try to make those little things happen. It's about our money. Money circulates in our community once. We've got to try and make that money circulate in our community. And we also need to use our voices to say, well, hold on a second, you don't represent us in any way, shape or form. So therefore, we're not using your company. We're not buying from you. We're not putting our money with you. That's the type of conversation that we need to be having.
Well, I think, you know, when you say it like that, and of course we talk about it in that way, you know, we talk about Black Pound Day, we talk about how our money circulates or doesn't circulate in the community. I hear a second documentary on this, just saying. Because that is a conversation. It's a massive conversation. Right now I'm having conversations about financial intelligence with my sons. Yeah. Especially where he's got his book out and stuff like that. Okay, well, you know, it's not just about this. It's about all the things and aspects around it. I think going back to your point around schools as well, I think it's a very much, and you talked about it, and I found it extremely divisive, you know, even within my own family. Yeah. You know, if there was already a challenge over there with someone already, it just gave it extra room to grow. It gave people an out, you know, not just in over here, but it gave other people an out not to participate or not to communicate or not to see. Yeah. And you know, the defining factor for me in taking my children out of school, because again, I'm not interested in any indoctrination. I was always one of these parents that was up there in 5 minutes while I was a camp out anyway. Yeah. But so I've got a bit more time on my hands now, which is great. Even though I'm homeschooler, I just have this different level of time. And but what I got to see for my children, and I remember, you know, what it was started off like, and I've always taught my children, you know, people always ask me in terms of school, they always ask me, oh, you know, is it a good school? And I'll say it's a good school because I'm there. Right. Yeah. I can put my children in any environment, and as long as I'm on top of those teachers, it's getting done, right? That's me, right? But I got to see when this first started, it was just coming up to they were coming up to the end of their academic year, and we had to pick up the reports, and you know, there was a whole letter about picking up the reports and picking them up outside and not stay. And then so I was there seeing parents I hadn't seen for a while. Hi, you know, seeing teachers I would, you know, would have a natural, you know, rapport with. And then the hostility started. And I thought that was very dangerous and, you know, psychologically dangerous, because they'd moved the children to a different area. So it was all this kind of walking around, you know, the whole entire building. And you've got 2 children to drop off. You've got to do some kind of crazy maze. Yeah. And then if you were there after school, you know, picking up your children, or even, you know, you'd sort of hi to the parents, what have you. Oh, no. Everybody had to disperse. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, you know, like it was almost like you know, I remember one of the teachers giving me a look like the are you still here look, right? And I just said, forget this. Yeah. This was just because because what happened is the lockdown started on the 23rd. So they got their reports kind of early. Yeah. They were starting to discuss that. Then we all had to come in there in July to get them staggered. It was just, and some teachers were really like calm, and other teachers who you had, you know, a very healthy relationship with, it was just mind-blowing. And I thought to myself, you know, if I'm experiencing that, my children won't pick up maybe on all of those cues, but if I can pick up those cues, my children, if they don't pick up on them, they're going to, in that way, you know, overtly, they're going to pick up with them covertly. And when I'm ready to tell my children no for this, Yeah, you're not. Yeah, and you're not. Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. And I'm a case of like, do I need to red flag my own children? No. Yeah. Do I need to put them in a position where they're highlighted for this? And they're black boys. I have 3 sons. They've got enough to contend with just by being black men. Yeah, black boys. Without, okay, well, and what you going back to what you said about the narrative at that time that was getting bombarded. It was almost like trying to make black people a social pariah. Right. So I just said, and one of the parents said to me, and this is when I realized, how dependent people are on the school system. When a parent of a 7-year-old said to me, a Caucasian, I bumped into her in the street, and she said to me, oh, her child didn't want to, I said, oh, how are the children, etc., etc. She said her 2-year-old was already walking around with her hands in a particular way, or going up to things in the street and trying to sanitize her hands, going up to the lamppost. So she was already getting programmed to put her hands out to get sanitized, yeah, and standing here. And so I said, wow, and then she said her son, had started self-harming because he wasn't in school. I just said, count me out. Because if that's one child that I know of, and a lot of children at this time, the mental health, yeah, is what they're pushing. It's almost like trying to break the spirit of people, right? Mm-hmm. So you're pushing, this situation on children. As teachers, as educators, you're not equipped to deal with this. Everybody, it's new for everyone. And I can't entrust you if I don't know where your mind is at. Yeah, I can't entrust you to, uphold my morals, my values. You're going to go against them, or you're going to see me as an enemy. And you're going to see my children as, you're going to stop seeing them as cute and fluffy, and you're going to start seeing them in a particular way. And that, for me, was like, you're not able to deal with the mental health of all these children. Yeah. And parents were struggling with educating their children, and teachers were giving you lots and lots of work, and the work, they had certain systems that they taught it in. And I just said, bun that. I just said, you know what? I'm going to homeschool you. You're going to learn from your learning styles, because I'm all about my children's learning styles. You're going to learn from your learning styles. I don't know what this is going to look like, but we're going to make it fun. And here we are 2 years later. Yeah. So for me, I recognize, and as a person who's dealing with children, I saw the impact, and all the parents were like, they've always looked, because I was a parent governor at one point. So they're all kind of looking for me to have a conversation, like, what's your thoughts? And at this point, I'm like, you know what? This is a situational decider. I don't actually need to tell you my thoughts at this point, yeah? So that you make it difficult for my son, yeah? So I was like, or sons. So I was like, count me out. I need my mind to be free. Yeah, I need to to be free thinking, and my children's to be free thinking. But I recognized a lot of our elders really felt it. They lost a lot of people. And the thing that was a massive impact that I heard a lot about from our elders was the funerals and the lack of being able to attend. That hurt. That hurt a lot of people. And so to me, it's like, I really want to kind of get to, let's get to now maybe like the body of the work that you did inside of that. What would we see if we're coming to, your viewing, your screening that's coming up on the 1st of May? What is it that we're likely to see? Because we've got quite a few people here in you've got a wide range of people involved in this and speaking on this. And so what is it that we hope to learn from the documentary inside of that?
Okay, I mean, the documentary in and of itself is a narrative about what's happened. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to give a very balanced view So we want to understand the people who are for the situation, the people who are against it, and the people who are in the middle. And from that, you can have a proper conversation. At this moment in time, we have one narrative. And if you move away from that narrative, you're seen as some type of leper. So it's kind of like we're trying to get people to understand really how we need to start looking for solutions to the challenges that we face. But the challenges that we face and the solutions are going to come from us. You know, my talk around it is, okay, you know, there's always this talk around reparations at the time when somebody's being killed in a really terrible way. It always comes back to that type of conversation. But let's say that does happen or doesn't happen. What we should be doing is we should be having a conversation amongst ourselves, how we can empower ourselves and how we can move forward as a community of people with the same skin color, regardless of the different variations. That's what this documentary is about. What's the solution? Looking at the history of how we've been manipulated, trying to equate lockdown to how we've been living for the last 400 years. You know, there's no other race that's really been as oppressed and really hell-bent on destruction of a race of people, right? Primarily because all of the resources, everything is in the countries, in these amazing countries. And what we're trying to do really, like I said, is we're trying to look for solutions, trying to understand what we can do, what we need to do, what the mental health impact of all of this is going to have on us, what we need to do to stop the next iteration of whatever's going to be happening. Because rest assured, there's another formula that's being concocted right now to make sure that we get even worse than what we got before. You know, you can see it in the narrative of, like, today I was listening to Priti Patel talking about refugees being sent to Rwanda for processing. So that means if you're from Syria, if you're from Iraq, Libya, or any African country, and you're trying to escape the atrocities that were perpetrated by the West in the first place, they are now going to collect you and send you to Rwanda. While the blue-eyed, blonde-haired people from Ukraine, they'll all be able to come here and they're welcomed with open arms. And it just shows the hypocrisy of the UK government in terms of what they've got in place. It's incredible. And we're actually seeing this. If anyone's just takes a moment to just think about it, it's like, this is atrocious, man. This is totally atrocious. And the fact that they're doing this in everyone's face, on the one hand, you're going to be shipped to Rwanda, okay. And then on the other hand, the blonde-haired and blue-eyed people who are being affected by a war, who really knows what the true narrative is? Because we're always given propaganda and whatever it is that they want us to believe. But these people are welcomed with open arms. So we need to recognize as a community that if we don't start taking care of ourselves in terms of what it is we need to do, then all of the atrocities and things that are going to evolve from the next set of changes that are going to be created for us, the ordinary people, we haven't got a chance. We have no chance. The next thing is digital money or digital IDs. There's lots of different things that are coming in that if you're ignorant and you don't pay attention, these things are going to affect you. There's already talk of food shortages. So what are we going to do? Is there a community talk to say, well, hold on, what happens if there is food shortages? What happens if there is fuel shortages? You know, you have an organization that is behind all of what's going on. And that organization has infiltrated leaders into all governments around the world. They proudly put it on their website to say that all of the people in Canada and Austria, and these are their people. They're going down a particular road. That road does not involve us.
I mean, even when you talk about, you know, this new agenda and in the world of war, I actually see this immigration. I haven't spoken much on it, but I actually see this immigration as the new generation of racism. Because I look at it like, I remember a scholar said that they need to mix in with us every 4 generations. Yeah. And it's almost like, if I look at, and look at London, yeah, and how multicultural it is, yeah. If I'm being a little bit, if I'm looking at the detail, I'm like, okay, maybe they've got their quota. Yeah, maybe they've got their quota of, okay, everyone's like, but it's getting too diverse, yeah, out here. And the programming for this, just even, the really, I remember hearing a phrase, and somebody was talking about it, programmed alignment. And the programmed alignment to, if you notice, you go onto a website, you've got the flag coming up, you've got this coming up on it, it's on everything. Packet of cereal next. Do you see what I mean? That kind of thing. It's everywhere for you to be programmed to align to. And I was listening to the radio this week, one of the bigger stations there. And someone was saying, well, what are you talking about? They actually have, they were talking about Nazism, and they said, oh, could it be this and could it be that? And they said, no, it's a policy in Ukraine. Nazism is a policy. Yeah. So imagine now a new wave. Yeah. Now I wasn't, around, I'm old enough to have been small enough in the 80s, but not old enough to understand the 80s and even the punks and that kind of mods, rockers, all of that. Yeah. Right. But I see something coming. I definitely see something on the horizon in terms of a new wave. And I tell you why I say this, because if I take my children out certain places, and I always look at children, you can see children, through children, you can see most things. And I'm looking at the children now, and I'm going to, like, I don't know, it might be somewhere that they go trampolining or something like that. And it's the attitude of small children outside our race. Very different now. Very, very different. Very, there's an aggressive. There is, like when you're brazen. Yeah, they're brazen. One little boy, no word of a lie, I was in a queue. I took my son out for his Earth Day. And this little boy, I'm like, I contain myself. Little boy of non-African descent. And he just stepped, I was talking to my son's friend, and he was in the queue, and he stepped on my foot, and he stepped on his foot, and he just looked at us. And I said, rah. And then I saw another child doing something or the other, and I just thought, I know children are children. I'm a person, I work with families, so I can see the psychology of children quite a lot. But there is something changing in the atmosphere around race. And I think you pinpoint it when you talk about, something's kind of coming. And it's a case of, okay, how do we prepare for that? And like part of the work that we're doing here, Got Kush, and doing these conversations is about preparing people. Yeah, being equipped. Go back and look at the shows. Okay, there's that person that could help me here. Oh, there's this person who can help me here. That's because I get to see you are right in our, it's individualism. Yeah, that is like the poison of our community. Yeah, hence why it doesn't matter if we have the same, we have the same goal often. Philosophies and ideologies get in the way of progress. And it is a time, especially during these times, if this has taught us anything, it's taught us about unification, real unification. If it's taught us anything, that we need to, it's like people find their tribe or a line and what have you. And again, it's the great decider. So it means that, I've got to be honest, I was a person a bit like you, Kandake. I was not Little Miss online. Yeah, you wouldn't, most people wouldn't have heard of me. Yeah, I've been a doula for 20 odd years, nearly 20 years now, next year actually. And in my birthing world for, as a parent for 22, 23 years. So people know me how they know me, but I was never really online. I wasn't, but this again called for, okay, you know what, all right. And I've actually made some really wonderful, powerful connections online with some people. Yeah. And the people that I would normally, you know, I'll just be like, okay, you might find that okay now. I've known you 20 years, but this has never come up. So we've never had to have a conversation about, okay, what do you think about that? Or what do you think about that? And so now you can see the difference, yeah, in our ethos. And so it's a case of, okay, and I'd probably like to put this to you, Kandake, as from your healing perspective, knowing that a lot of us again are coming from this kind of premise, so that it has been a major divider. Yeah, you know, obviously orchestrated, absolutely, yeah, without a doubt, but also very revealing. I found it extremely revealing, yeah, and not the situation, but the revelation was very refreshing. It was like, oh, you know, when you know you got someone in your life, you go, I knew, but this showed me everyone actually around me. Like there was, because I'm very vocal, yeah. So I was like, so I want to kind of, how do we, knowing that there's been that pull apart, that pull away, and part of my concern is, you know, another variant is coming out every December, seems, yeah, you know, like a hot record, you know, chartbuster, you know. So, and I suspect that there will be another one. Yeah, I do personally. That's my thoughts on that. And so, what can we learn from the documentary, and what can we about the possibility of more of this in this way? And what can we do, yeah, for us knowing it's an unconscious awareness now, but awareness of the design to divide and conquer.
Okay. Okay. Well, with the documentary, it's around 45 minutes. So there is only so much that could actually be put into the documentary. One of the things is for our voices to be heard, because our voice was never heard. And, you know, as our brother Dougie would always say, you know, find your voice.
Brother Dougie.
Brother Dougie.
Brother Dougie. Yeah.
Who we lost during this time. Yeah.
Yes.
So in terms of there are some solutions, and there is a part 2 which is coming. So, you know, there are discussions that still need to be had. One of the areas that we did have people from speaking on that aspect, but they didn't quite make this cut, for example, was around African spirituality. Also, specifically around health, we did speak on health, but, you know, there are other aspects that I think also could be looked into more. And I'd just like to say, with regards to what you were saying just now in terms of what is happening here with us now as a people, Des said it earlier, we're like 2% of the population. And the reality is our parents didn't come here to stay. But stay we have. And we have stayed in another man's yard. Now, it is his zone. You understand? No matter what we want to say, we are in his zone. And he's made it quite clear that in his house, he does what he likes. He doesn't. I'm just, you know, saying it as it is. So for me, one of our leaders who understood this was Marcus Garvey. And Marcus Garvey was very clear as a people what we need to do. We needed to look back to where our ancestors came from. Now, I know for some people that's going to be an issue because people want to stay here. They want to live the life that they want to live. But the reality is, you said something's coming. And we can see that things have shifted. Each one in this time will have to make up their own mind and make their decision as to what life they are going to live, whether they're going to live here in the comforts of the Western world, or whether they are going to have to find another way. These are the realities that we're going to have to face. This is what immigration is about. You know, so we are going to have a lot more difficult conversations. This has just begun. And there are going to be some very difficult conversations. And some people are going to want to hold on and stay here. If you even want to look into, if we talk about revelation, we'll just use that word. There are things that come up in this time. So we have some conversations to talk, and we're going to have to talk some frank conversation to really get to the roots
of the matter.
Right. And then not just those conversations, but the conversation with ourselves. Because we have to get clear who we are on this planet and what our role is on this planet. So there are some great conversations had. And in saying that, after the documentary, we will be having discussions with the community, with the contributors. So it will be an opportunity for us to have some of these discussions, because some of these discussions are going to need more time and space to really have some of these discussions. And that's what I would say.
Thank you. Do you want to add anything to that, Des?
I think, you know, we want to create another version of the documentary called ICU Aftermath, which is where we are 2 years after the beginning of this situation. And, you know, we mentioned points earlier, you know, like what's happening in Ukraine and things that should really be helping people to open up their eyes and open up their minds. You know, this isn't just a question of have you done something or have you not. Whether you've done it or not, or you haven't, is irrelevant. That conversation is to keep us divided. Again, we said it before. Divided. What is the word?
Divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer.
And divided we fall.
Divided we stand. Divided we fall.
United we stand.
United we stand. Divided we fall. So if we look if we look at Africa, for instance, Africa's been divided up into 54 states, 54 countries. That was by design, because it would be easier to then distribute African.
Scramble for Africa, absolutely. So now there's talk. Well, let's see if that actually materializes of an African Union, and if that does start to, and then it's who and where people are going to, align themselves.
Exactly.
Where they're going to align themselves, and who's behind this? Because we already know about, you know, Saddam Hussein and what he tried to do. Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah. Who's in place at the time is going to be very instrumental in where this is going to go. I think it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. But, you know, I think we have to start making those moves. And I don't want to sound like I'm not being compassionate. But if you are coming from war-torn countries in the world of war-torn or difficult situations, and they take you back to another country, I know a lot of our people from Africa, and we know if we've been there, you know, they don't see the comparison, you know, financially. They think, you know, it's all, you know, silver lights, but going home is always the mission. Going back home is always the mission, even if you can't go back home to that country. Going back to the motherland is always the mission. So I want to, you know, I recognize the circumstance, but I ask myself, in my optimism, is, okay, so let's say they are rerouted to Rwanda. What conditions is Rwanda in right now for them? How are they going to be supported in there? Could they be, in a healthy position there or not? Yeah. If they're going to do that, then, it's up. The motherland has a responsibility as well to look after its people. Yeah, that's personally my opinion. So when you see Ukrainian doctors and like African doctors over there in Ukraine, there's a lot of them. Yeah, there's a lot of them over there. But I also found out, interestingly enough, that Ukraine is number one for certain procedures, certain to do with organs. Yeah. Number one up there in terms of, harvest. So questioning, and there was a post that went out. So, and people were questioning, like, well, what are those African doctors doing over there anyway? Yeah. Now, I don't want to be mean. I don't. But I have to be objective. I want them out, and I think if there's anyone stuck over there and there's people over there, I know that there was Stanley Tanney that went into, I don't know if you heard about the story where he went into the into the police station, was getting, that's the one, and then got pushed out of the police station. Sorry?
I always want to know what happened to him.
Nobody's heard, and it's very heartbreaking. But going home, we've got to start getting to a point where, our commerce, you hear Steve Harvey now talking about the importance of going home, and Stevie Wonder, and we need to start thinking about, okay, how much more, we work with this country to do the things that we need to do in it. Yeah. But how much more do we need to take? And I think that's why I go fast forward and think about, okay, you know what, when we look at, Soviet and the whole situation, it was so beautifully orchestrated to have this next programming, this next level. Yeah. So, okay, their defenses are down. Their emotional defenses are down. Let's push an empathy conversation on them. Sympathy conversation on them, to the point where you're getting people housed. People that open up their house. You don't, again, we see the disparity. You go to Rwanda, you come to our homes. Yeah. To me, these are signs and wonders that it's time to go. Yeah. That's just how it feels for me. Yeah. It's like, okay, we've got to start thinking about that. And I want to start thinking about, okay, you know what? There is going to be another possibility of another, in the world of variants, there's going to be a possibility of that. And, they're pushing the whole vaccine, and, those things are still, there are certain institutions that have still got kind of very much the same lockdown policies, but we're not hearing about them because we're hearing about, Oscars and, nonsense. Yeah. But I want to know how we prepare. I think it's the question for me, is that how do we prepare now, knowing what we know? And does your film or the following film also help us to prepare for this, what we see, or what may be coming?
I think the film is opens up a conversation. We'd like to, I think what I said in the beginning was, we didn't have any funding to do this. So this was self-funded. This came out of our pockets. And, the next time round, we're going to try to make sure we have funding so we can get all the right researchers and all the right elements in place so that we can do what we need to do. So this particular position that we take is just looking at where we are and understanding the impact that these two tsunamis had on our life in 2020. So that's literally what we're doing with this documentary. And then we're looking at the mental health aspects. We're looking at the history of, what's the word that you use, Kandake, when you look at historically how we've been affected? There's a word that you used in the documentary itself. I can't remember exactly what that word was. The genealogy, or
okay. Well, actually, I think if you're talking about the stress process, that whole psychoneuroimmunology, which is to do with the, the actual stress process. But yeah, there is that historical part. I think Robin spoke a lot about, historically how we've been affected.
I think what we've got to do is, the narrative around going back to Africa and the Caribbean. That's an interesting conversation. A lot of people don't understand what Africa is or what the Caribbean is. People they're born here. They believe, we are citizens of the UK. And the UK, for me, is a place where, despite all the racism, despite all the challenges, no one's actually going to stop you from succeeding. You might find that you will come across more barriers, but if you're determined, you can make everything that you want to happen in this country. Now, running away or trying to go away, everybody's talking about not being here now. I don't know. To me, that's not really my conversation. My conversation is, collectively, if we're here, we need to come together. That's what we need to do, so that we become, if like the Jewish community, if somebody says something against this race of people, then they get hit hammer and tongs. We can't just talk about us willy-nilly and however you like without there being some type of repercussion. That's where I think we need to be. Now, how close we are to that, I don't really know. I think, like I said, we have to address the elephant in the room, which is us, and the fact that we have so much division amongst ourselves. And the documentary really is trying to help us to understand how we need to change. Right? We're not trying to just bombard you with negativity. We're trying to say, look, how many more George Floyds are there going to be? How many more governments are going to be standing against Black people? It's never going to end. It's just a time to say, okay, since Martin Luther King and way before, the conversation has not changed. And the conversation should be, we need to come together. It's time. And however that looks like, whatever races of people, whether it's Africans, Ghanaians, Jamaicans, Bajans, it's slowly starting to happen, but it needs to happen faster. Because once we become a community of people with buying power behind us, then people start to listen. And people don't start messing around, because they will be impacted. So that's really what I think we should be doing. The documentary is really talking about what's happened to us, what could further happen to us, and what solutions we need to put in place to try to find a way to come out of this mess that we've been in forever and a day. How many more George Floyds are there going to be? They're happening every day. Just that we've just been fortunate to see it on camera. We just need to kind of all stop and think to ourselves, well, the biggest slap in the face is what's happening in the Ukraine right now. And, listen, I feel for the people of the Ukraine. I sympathize with what's going on. I don't really understand what's going on, because there's so much propaganda and lies from mainstream media. Who the hell really knows what's going on and why? And I'm not ever going to listen to the BBC or any of those news channels to get my news. That's just a complete waste of time. And if that's where you get your news from, you're in trouble, because that is not news. That is not news. That is giving you what they want you to hear. And then you respond in kind. You need to switch that rubbish off, because it's total rubbish. I was in Barbados for 5 months, and I came back, and the first thing I did was just got rid of my Skybox. I'm spending £88 a month for rubbish. Right? So the first thing I did was say, no, I don't want this. I've had my Skybox for 15 years. I couldn't do without it. I came back, I watched the news for 5 minutes. I said, I can't be watching this anymore. This is terrible. You need to find other sources to get your information from. And there's so much out there, but slowly they're trying to shut these sources down. So there's only one narrative. So the documentary is about looking at mainstream media, how they're indoctrinating us, the propaganda that they're putting out. And again, it's very solution focused. And everybody who's on and everyone who can hear this, you need to come and see it. It's on the 1st of May, and it's at the Prince Charles Theatre. Tickets are £10. They're going up to £15 shortly. So if you can get a ticket and come and see it. But the other thing that I haven't mentioned is that we're award winning with this documentary as well.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's fantastic. That's really fantastic. I think that's I think it's what's, I suppose in closing, I'd like to get a sense of, what do you think you learned? What do you think you learned about yourselves and about your community in doing this, in terms of, I think you got to see, I think we were talking a little bit about, their fear, but in, the community, when I say the community, I mean the community that you did this project with. Mm-hmm. What did you get to learn about yourselves, and as a group? What did you learn for yourself?
Kandake, do you want to take that, and I'll come jump in?
Yeah. Do you just want to finish about, because you was going on about what the awards, and then I can take that if you want. Do you want to finish up on that?
Okay. So we won. We entered 10 festivals. We've won 4.
Wow.
Runners up on 1, and we're waiting for 2 more.
Amazing.
So, if you go into the website, which is unfiltered.london, there is no .com, it's www.unfiltered.london. And then on there, if you want to get a ticket on Eventbrite, you can get a ticket. Get your tickets fast because they are selling out. And you'll get to see some of the other films that we've made, and you'll get to see some of the awards that we've had and got. So we're actually waiting for one. I think it's for British Film Institute. We're nominated. We're just waiting to see where we come, which is going to be quite interesting. I've always wanted the accolade of, and the winner is. I mean, that always sounds amazing.
Oh, and you deserve it. And so what? You deserve it. Like, if you've put in the work. This is the website. Yeah, it will come up in a minute. Buffering away. But I think well done. It really takes something to create this kind of narrative, this conversation. And it's a hard conversation because it brings up stuff for everyone. So I really want to thank you for that. And what about yourself, Kandake? What do you think as a group? What do you think you learned? What do you think you learned for yourself?
You just got to be yourself, even when you're challenged, even when things may not want to go your way. And actually, you really have to be. For me, this project really was about the community, even at the expense where, even if it meant it having to just manifest in any way, it had to manifest. So for me, I think what I learned was that when you're doing something, you just give, and sometimes you don't even look for anything in return, and if something does come in return, it's a bonus, right? It's a bonus. And especially at times like this, these are the times when everybody's got to pull out the stops and do what they've got to do. Everybody's got something to do. And it's when you do that, when you come with what you've got and put it on the table, that's what we're talking about. We can all use that. That's what we need to. So for me, it was about that, working, pulling together, and even if it means stepping back and letting it manifest, just let it become. So, and again, as I said before, it showed me that those who could do something really did want to do something, and they stepped forward. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Excellent. Do you want to add to that, Des?
All I would say is to the community people who are watching, come and support us at the premiere. We need the support of the community. Too many of us are trying to do different things, and without the support of the 2 million people that are in the UK. That's all. There's 69 million people in the UK, and we represent approximately 2 million. 2 million. That's a very small, it's a drop in the ocean. When we're in London, it looks like you see lots of black people, but go to other parts of the UK and you won't see any of us. We don't exist. And so the challenge that we face is the narrative that is not shaped by us at all is what shapes the thinking of some of these people. So we need to start having our own conversation, making our own films. One of the things that we did when we first made the documentary, we were in talks with Channel 4, and we had about 5 meetings with them. You know, they liked what we were doing. Channel 4 is on the verge of being sold. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but the conversation stopped quite abruptly, which led us to move into the festival world. And that was a great thing that we did. So, you know, I'm really pleased that we went down the festival route in the end, because it's given us a lot more kudos, if that makes any sense. We won. If you go onto the website and scroll down, you'll see some of the awards that we have for anyone who's listening. But you buy your tickets as soon as you open the website, you'll see the premiere, and you can click here to buy tickets. But if you go down, you'll see we've won the Lower Cannes Film Festival, we've won Infinity Gold, we've won Hollywood Gold, we've won a few different festivals and been nominated for a few for showings. So that's been fantastic for us. And I'm really, what I'd love is for the community to see what we're doing and get behind us, because the messages that we're trying to bring out are really, really important. We're trying to say to people, look, this is what's happening. The next documentary is going to talk about what's happening, what we need to do. Because there is another tsunami that's not just going to hit the black race, it's going to hit the whole world.
Humanity.
Apart from the parasites. Because this has been designed by the parasites. And what does a parasite do? It lives off the host, right? So when you see all these people who they give themselves the title of elite, they're not elite. They're parasitical. They're sucking out our blood. That's all that they're there for, right? It's great that you've managed to make a lot of money, but money in and of itself does not make you an amazing person. Just look at some of the people that are there. So it's quite interesting. I think come and support us. It's a red carpet event on the 1st of May. We're the ones who are putting this on because we want the community to see the film. We want everybody to get involved with the conversations with some of the people that are going to be there. We've got Carlton Cole there. It's an ex-Chelsea football player who's going to be talking. Dean Okai, I don't know if any of you know him. Dame Dubry is massive in the community. You know, there's some really, really good people there, and it's support the grassroots people that are trying to make a difference, because we can't do this out of our own pocket forever and a day. We can't. So if you come along, help us to have a sold out event where we can talk about what we've done and create the next one and create the next one. And very soon we'll have our own conversations, because at the moment, when we watch TV, it's other people talking about us and talking about who we are and what you know, the conversation isn't about us. It's about them and what they want to see. We've got to start having our own conversations, start having our own films, start to create our own world, our own narrative, that if somebody says something wrong against us, we can say, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. This is going to affect your bottom line if you continue going down that road. That's where we need to be. So the 1st of May, 6:15 to 8:30, all roads should be leading to Leicester Square. This is the Prince Charles Theatre, and you know, it's a lovely theatre. We're going to come on stage afterwards. You can ask us any question that you like.
Fantastic!
I'm really excited about it. You know, we've made this film. We didn't think we'd win the awards that we'd win. We've won. We didn't think we'd be where we are. But at the moment, like I said, we're still a fledgling organisation. And the only way that we grow is the community supports us. 1st of May, all roads lead. Get your tickets now.
And get your tickets from www.unfiltered.london. And if people want to contact you, they can email you, right?
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
yep. Okay, let me just pull up your email. Let's see. Got it? No. Yeah, there you are. Unfiltered.london at icloud.com. Yeah.
That's the one,
So,
yeah.
you know, I want to, I'm going to, is it okay to bring children?
This is you could bring children as long as they're a little bit more, depends on the age of the children.
Yeah. No, my children, I'm thinking of my children, right? About
my children are going to be there, so they'll be
no, I want them to be there. I want them to see this. This is really, so okay, well, you'll see me there. You'll see me there. And so yeah, I just want to thank you so much. I really appreciate the conversation we've had, and when I started, I talked about the proverb, and if you want to go fast, go alone, and if you want to go far, go together. But what I saw about the work you did and how it sounds like you put this in together. This is a lesson for all of us. Yeah, when it comes to working together, yeah, is what I can hear is you focused on each other's strengths, yeah, to make it happen. And well-run teams focus on strengths, yeah. And so it what I get is with the array of people you have there, yeah, such a fantastic contributions to this. It means then we're not just we're sourcing our community. We recognize each other. We recognize each other's skills. We don't have to wait until each other pass or this thing licks someone. Yeah, things can get done now. Yeah, and cohesively and effortlessly. And it doesn't sound like, you can tell me if it was the case, but it doesn't sound like there might be challenges like financial, sure, like things do. But what I got from the conversation today is how much cohesiveness, yeah, inside of the work. And so, family, we're going to see that, yeah, on the 1st of May, 6:30. Don't forget, 6:30. Yeah, to 8:30. So get your tickets, get there early. I will be early. I like to be early. So I will be there early, and I hope to see you there. Yeah, if I haven't met you before, come and say hello. It will be like you said, right here, Prince Charles Cinema, 7 Leicester Square Place, London, WC 2H7BY. Yeah, so if you want to get in contact, if you're a little bit shy to communicate at this point, you can go and email them, check out the tickets are there. There's also a trailer on there as well. It's a really good trailer. We had some challenges playing it tonight, but go check out the trailer. And I really want to thank you and appreciate you before I've even seen it. Yeah, I want to thank you for the work, and thank you for the vision, and thank you for the heart and the strength, because I'm a person, I'm in my 40s, so I have the luxury of, if you like, supporting my youngers, yeah, those younger than me, and being a mentor or a mother or sister figure to them. But I'm also a person who loves to learn and sit at the feet of my elders. Yeah. So I'm really grateful and touched and very grateful that our elders in our community said enough. Because that's kind of what our youngers will be looking for from us. So you are paving the way for us. So I just really want to thank you.
And I also want to just acknowledge again, because Samuel's not here, the work, of course, that Samuel does, and also Diane as well. We haven't mentioned her sister Diane, but
sure.
We had other people in the team. So just want
absolutely
to say,
excellent. Thanks. Well, I hope to meet them all on the 1st. Yeah, so I look forward to that, and I will definitely stay in touch. But I just really want to say thank you so much. for coming on this evening and taking the time out and reaching out to do this as well. So, you know, it's a really important conversation. It's a necessary conversation. And it's going to be a long-standing conversation in our community, the ripple effect and the knock-on effect of this, the psychological implications, the physiological implications of this in the terms of long COVID and all these kinds of nonsense. Yeah. So there's a lot of work to do. The work isn't finished. Yeah. The regulations may have changed, but the work needs to be done. And what you get to see right now, when everybody's like, okay, well, you know, the regulations are this, that, and the other, and everything's fine. What you've done is said, okay, focus. Yeah. Focus on the depth of this, the importance of what happened here, the marking of something here, the narrative here. Some young people haven't even heard, have not had a chance to really, not a chance, but not really experience racism. You know, they go to schools, you know, if they go to certain schools and things like that, racism doesn't come up much for them in their experience. Yeah. You know, schools are quite multicultural and things like that. And it's often a conversation for the adults to have. But the children have seen what this looks like. They've seen the narrative themselves. They've experienced the narrative. They've heard it in some way or form. Yeah. And so I'm a person who's very much into intergenerational healing. So this, for me, bringing my children, myself coming and being with my elders, beautiful. That's going to be a beautiful Sunday. And I don't go out on Sunday. That's Mama's Day. That's Mama's Day. Yeah. But I will make an effort to.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. So I really want to thank you. Thank you for your time, your love, your patience, and, you know, and the strength and the courage. And the courage.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you.
I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing you. I'm going to put you backstage, complete the show. I'll wrap up with you in a minute. Just stay there, and I will speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
It was so enriching. Yeah, I'm quite touched. I feel quite emotional, actually. I could quite cry. Yeah. I'm going to have to leave you guys and have a little moment, because it takes something to put something like that on. It takes heart. It takes courage. And there's nothing like hearing about unity in action. Like, that's power. And the lineup of people that are contributors to this conversation, phenomenal. Yeah, that is going to be a very enriching experience. So get yourselves down there, family. Book your tickets. Go to Eventbrite. Check it out. Be there. Let me see you there. Support this. Yeah, because we've been having this conversation for the last 2 years. And now we've got a conversation around the solutions and what unity looks like and what courage looks like. And these are all areas that we can learn from as younger people, as our children can learn. You know, when our elders are doing powerful things, it always moves me. Yeah, always moves me. And so I just really feel blessed and honored that, you know, they reached out. Just, you know, I give thanks for that. But I really want to thank you all for being here this evening. It was really touching, yeah, and powerful. And, you know, and I want us to feel empowered, regardless of the state of mind and physiological or psychological state of mind that this situation has presented and left with people. What I get from this is that, you know, people are going to feel a connection, an empathy, an understanding, a sympathy, and maybe even people might go and find that there's a sort of new layer of strength. And of course, there'll be wonderful people there. So, you know, it's going to be a win-win all round. Okay. So again, it's at the Prince Charles Cinema, 7 Leicester Square Place, London, WC 2H7BY. Yeah. And if you want to get tickets, www.unfilteredlondon. Yeah. And the email address, unfiltered.london@icloud.com. So until I see you next time, I bid you farewell, family. And I just really want to say thank you so much, as always, for your patience and understanding and love and kindness. And as always, I just want to say, what I always say, and anybody can say it with me, say it at home. Yeah, don't be shy at home. Don't be shy at home. I know some of you are shy to get on here or speak, or even sometimes to even comment. Yeah, but I want you to share this conversation widely. This conversation tonight, I want you to share it widely. Yeah, because it's very, very important that our community gets a sense of awareness, knowing what's possible, what connections can be made, how we can identify with this now in a new way, in a new space, with a new sense of purpose. So with that, family, I just want to say thank you so much, as always. And if you ain't got nothing, you ain't got kush. See you next time.